Hello, welcome. I am recording now, and we're gonna go straight into it. Okay, so this book does not have chapters or, monologue number one sort of thing. It kind of leaves me with this little symbol. I don't know what to call the symbol. Where's my phone? Phone? Where the fuck are you? Really? I just had my phone right here. Hold on while I look for my goddamn phone. There it is. Okay. So, it has a symbol. And I don't know what to make of the symbol. But it's a very eloquent symbol, I should say. That is the symbol. So that's the symbol for every new monologue. So looks neat, does look neat. It looks like a conch shell. We could call it a cooch shell. Or we could just call it vagina. I don't know. Though I don't want to offend the author or anyone that's going to be reading this or hearing this. But yeah, I'm gonna call it the first conch shell for right now, and then we'll see, where that takes us. I might call it conch shell, I might call it cooch shell, I just might call it vagina. But yes, we shall begin with the Vagina Monologues. Okay. This is the first conch shell. I bet you're worried. I was worried. That's why I began this piece. I was worried about vaginas. I was worried about what we think about vaginas, and even more worried that we don't think about them. I was worried about my own vagina. It needed a context of other vaginas, a community, a culture of vaginas. There's so much darkness and secrecy surrounding them, like the Bermuda Triangle. Nobody ever reports back from there. In the first place, it's not so easy even to find your vagina. You gotta use a mirror for that shit. You really do. Unless you're super skinny and you're flexible. It ain't easy. It's not. Yeah. Women go weeks, months, sometimes years without looking at it. Yep. Same. I interviewed a high-powered businesswoman who told me she was too busy. She didn't have the time. Looking at your vagina, she said, is a full day's work. You have to get down there on your back in front of a mirror that's standing on its own, full length preferred. You've got to get in the perfect position with the perfect light, which then is shadowed somehow by the mirror and the angle you're at. You get all twisted up, you're arching your head up, killing your back. You're exhausted by then. She said she didn't have the time for that. She was busy. So I decided to talk to women about their vaginas, to do vagina interviews, which became Vagina Monologues. I talked with over 200 women. I talked to older women, young women, married women, single women, lesbians, college professors, actors, corporate professionals, sex workers, African American women, Hispanic women, Asian women, Asian American women, Native American women, Caucasian women, Jewish women. At first, women were reluctant to talk. They were a little shy, but once they got going, you couldn't stop them. Women secretly love to talk about their vaginas. They get very excited, mainly because no one's ever asked them before. Let's just start with the word vagina. It sounds like an infection at best, maybe a medical instrument. Hurry, nurse, bring me the vagina. 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 Doesn't matter how many times you say it. It never sounds like a word you want to say. Yeah. It doesn't. It's very straightforward. It's a totally ridiculous, completely unsexy word. If you use it during sex, trying to be politically correct. Darling, could you stroke my vagina? You kill the act right there. I'm worried about the vaginas, what we call them and don't call them. In Great Neck, they call it a pussycat. A woman there told me that her mother used to tell her, don't wear panties underneath your pajamas, dear. You need to air out your pussycat. In Westchester, they call it a pookie. In New Jersey, a twat. There's powder box, derriere, a poochie, a poopy, a pee-pee, a poopelu, a punani, a pal, and a peach, toady, deedy, nishi, dignity, monkey box, coochie, snorcher, cootie, lab, Gladys Pilgrim, VA, wee wee, horse spot, nappy dugout, mongo, a pajama, fanny boo, mushmallow, a ghoulie, possible, tamale, totita, Connie, a Mimi in Miami, split niche in Philadelphia, and Schmend in the Bronx. I am worried about vaginas. I think that was from the author herself. So that was the end of that first conch shell. Now we will go on to the second conch shell. Which I think from then on, okay, yeah. So the actual like interviews, they're all gonna be italicized, and then there are some that are not italicized for whatever reason. I think some are italicized or not italicized. I think to like some are serious, and then there's facts about vaginas. So the serious ones and the ones that are like facts that are not monologues, those are not italicized. Which I may say if they're not italicized or not. but most of these are going to be italicized. Oh, okay. Um, now I'm. There are some that are mixed. The italicized is the interviewee, the person that's giving, that's talking, like the person being interviewed. And then I think Eve Ensler, she's the one that's not italicized. But I think you'll get that. Okay, enough of the talking. Back to vaginas. So the second conch shell is hold on, sorry. Uh, oh, okay. I think. Oh, okay. You'll get the layout. Never mind. Yeah, you'll get the layout. So this is conch shell number 2, and it says, some of the monologues are close to verbatim in interviews. Some are composite interviews, and with some I just began with the seed of an interview and had a good time. This monologue is pretty much the way I heard it. Its subject, however, came up in every interview, and often it was fraught. The subjects being, and then the next page, it doesn't have the little conch symbol, but it has a header, and it says hair. Yes, hair. Hair. So yes, hair. You cannot love a vagina unless you love hair. Many people do not love hair. My first and only husband hated hair. He said it was cluttered and dirty. He made me shave my vagina. It looked puffy and exposed and like a little girl. This excited him. When he made love to me, my vagina felt the way a beard must feel. It felt good to rub it and painful, like scratching a mosquito bite. It felt like it was on fire. There were screaming red bumps. I refused to shave it again. Then my husband had an affair. When we went to marital therapy, he said he screwed around because I wouldn't please him sexually. I wouldn't shave my vagina. The therapist had a thick German accent and gasped between sentences to show her empathy. She asked me why I didn't want to please my husband. I told her I thought it was weird. I felt little when my hair was gone down there, and I couldn't help talking in a baby voice. And the skin got irritated, and even calamine lotion wouldn't help it. She told me marriage was a compromise. I asked her if shaving my vagina would stop him from screwing around. I asked her if she'd had many cases like this before. She said that questions diluted the process. I needed to jump in. She was sure it was a good beginning. This time, when we got home, he got to shave my vagina. It was like a therapy bonus prize. He clipped it a few times, and there was a little blood in the bathtub. He didn't even notice it, because he was so happy shaving me. Then later, when my husband was pressing against me, I could feel his spiky sharpness sinking into me, my naked, puffy vagina. There was no protection. There was no fluff. I realized then that hair is there for a reason. It's the leaf around the flower, the lawn around the house. You have to love hair in order to love the vagina. You can't pick the parts. You can't pick the parts you want. And besides, my husband never stopped screwing around. So that was that. Uh, I think it was a monologue. Though, I'm not sure if it was from her account, from Eve Ensler's, the interviewee, and the interviewers, or or an actual person. I think it was an actual person. But yes, on to the next conch shell, which is I asked I asked all the women I interviewed the same questions, and then I picked my favorites, and I picked my favorite answers. Although I must tell you, I've never heard an answer I didn't love. I asked women, and then it goes to the next conch shell, which is one question and then a bunch of answers. So the question being in this next conch shell, if your vagina was if your vagina got dressed, what would it wear? And then there's a list: a beret, a leather jacket, silk stockings, mink, a pink boa, a male tuxedo, jeans, something form-fitting, emeralds, an evening gown, sequins, Armani only, a tutu, see-through black underwear, a taffeta ball gown, something machine washable, costume eye makeup, no, costume eye mask, purple velvet pajamas, angora, a red bow, ermine and pearls, a large hat full of flowers, a leopard hat, a silk kimono, glasses, sweatpants, a tattoo, an electrical shock device to keep unwanted strangers away, high heels, lace, and combat boots, purple feathers and twigs and shells, cotton, a pinafore, a bikini, a slicker. On to the next conch shell, which is also another question. If your vagina could talk, what would it say in 2 words? And the answers being, and it's a whole bunch of answers, just like last time. Slow down. Is that you? Feed me. I want. Yum yum. Oh yeah. Start again. No, over there. Lick me. Stay home. Brave choice. Think again. More, please. Embrace me. Let's play. Don't stop. More, more. Remember me? Come inside. Not yet. Whoa, mama. Yes, yes. Rock me. Enter at your own risk. Oh God. Thank God. I'm here. Let's go. Let's go. Find me. Thank you. Bonjour. Too hard. Don't give up. Where's Brian? That's better. Yes, there. There. Alright. And that is the end of that conch shell. They're really, really fucking quick. Okay. In the next conch shell, it says, I interviewed a group of women between the ages of 65 and 75. These interviews were the most poignant of all, possibly because many of the women had never had a vagina interview before. Unfortunately, most of the women in this age group had very little conscious relationship to their vaginas. I felt terribly lucky to have grown up in the feminist era. One woman, who was 72, had never even seen her vagina. She had only touched herself when she was washing in the shower, but never with conscious intention. She had never had an orgasm. At 72, she went into therapy, and with the encouragement of her therapist, she went home one afternoon by herself, lit some candles, took a bath, played some comforting music, and discovered her vagina. She said it took her over an hour because she was arthritic by then, but when she finally found her clitoris, she said she cried. This monologue is for her. This is called, it doesn't have a conch shell symbol, but it has a header. The Flood. Uh, Jewish. Queen's accent. Though I don't know what a Queen's accent is. So I'll try my best to do a New York accent. Sort of. Down there? No, I'm just gonna say it regularly because I feel bad. When it gets to the point where I have to speak in an accent, then I'll do that. But I'm a Californian. I'm just regular English, plain English. Down there? I hadn't been down there since 1953. No, it had nothing to do with Eisenhower. No, no. It's a cellar down there. It's very damp, clammy. You don't want to go down there. Trust me. You'd get sick. Suffocating. Very nauseating. The smell of the clammies and the mildew and everything. Phew! Smells unbearable. Gets in your clothes. No, there was no accident down there. Okay, I'm doing an accent, whether you want to or not. I just feel it already, like just reading this. I'm just like, man, yeah, I feel the accent. So I must accent. No, there was no accident down there. It didn't blow up or catch on fire or anything. It wasn't so dramatic. I mean, well, never mind. No, never mind. I can't talk to you about this. What's a smart girl like you do going around and talking to old ladies about their down theirs for? We didn't do this kind of thing when I was a girl. What? Jesus, okay. There was this boy, Andy Leftov. He was cute. Well, I thought so. Like tall like me. And tall. Yeah, and tall like me. And I really liked him. He asked me out for a date in his car. I can't tell you this. I can't do this. Talk about down there. You just know it's there. Like the cellar. There's rumbles down there sometimes. You can hear the pipes and things getting caught there. Little animals and things, and it gets wet, and sometimes people have to come and plug up the leaks. Otherwise, the doors stay closed. You forget about it. I mean, it's part of the house, but you don't see it or think about it. It has to be there, though, because every house needs a cellar. Otherwise, the bedroom would be in the basement. Oh, Andy Leftkov. Right. Andy was very good looking. He was a catch. That's what we called it in my day. We were in his car, a new white Chevy Bel Air. I remember thinking that my legs were too long for the seat. I have long legs. They were bumping up against the dashboard. I was looking at my big kneecaps when he just kissed me in this surprising take me by control like they do in the movies kind of way. And I got excited. So excited, and well, there was a flood down there. I couldn't control it. It was like this force of passion, this river of life just flooded out of me, right through my panties, right onto the car seat of his new white Chevy Bel Air. It wasn't pee, and it wasn't smelly. Well, frankly, I didn't really smell anything at all. But Andy said, that it smelled like sour milk and it was staining his car seat. I was a stinky, weird girl, he said. I wanted to explain that his kiss had caught me off guard, that I wasn't normally like this. I tried to wipe the flood up. I tried to wipe the flood up with my dress. It was a new yellow primrose dress, and it looked so ugly with the flood on it. Andy drove me home, and he never said another word. And when I got out and closed his car door, I closed the whole store, locked it, never opened for business again. I did it some after that, but the idea of flooding made me too nervous. I never even got close again. I used to have dreams, crazy dreams. Oh, they're dopey. Why? Burt Reynolds. I don't know why. He never did mean he never did much for me in life, but in my dreams, it was always Bert and I. Bert and I. Bert and I. We'd be out. Bert and I. Bert and I. It was some restaurant like the kind you see in Atlantic City, all big with chandeliers and stuff and thousands of waiters with vests on. Bert used to give me this orchid corsage. I'd put it on my blazer. We'd laugh. We were always laughing, Bert and I. Eat shrimp cocktail, huge shrimp, fabulous shrimp. I don't know if I'm even doing a New York accent. I'm just going with it. Man, it sounds like East Coast. I think that's good enough for me. We'd laugh more. We were happy together. And then he'd look into my eyes and pull me to him in the middle of the restaurant. And just as he was about to kiss me, the room would start to shake. Pigeons would fly out from under the table. I don't know what those pigeons were doing there. And the flood would come straight from down there. It would pour out of me. It would pour and pour. There would be fish inside it, and little boats, and the whole restaurant would fill with water. And Bert would be standing knee-deep in my flood, looking horribly disappointed in me that I'd done it again, horrified as he watched his friends, Dean Martin and the like, swim past us in their tuxedos and evening gowns. I don't have those dreams anymore. Not since they took away just about everything connected down there. Moved out the uterus, the tubes, the whole works. The doctor thought he was being funny. He told me if you don't use it, you lose it. But really, I found out it was cancer. Everything around it had to go. Who needs it anyway, right? Highly overrated. I've done other things. I love the dog shows. I sell antiques. What would it wear? What kind of question is that? What would it wear? What would it wear? It would wear a big sign. Closed due to flooding. What would it say? I told you. It's not like that. It's not like a person who speaks. It stopped being a thing that talked a long time ago. It's a place. It's a place you don't go. It's closed up, under the house. It's down there. You happy? You made me talk. You got it out of me. You got an old lady to talk about her down there. You feel better now? In brackets it says, turns away, turns back. You know, actually, you're the first person I ever talked to. You're the first person who I ever talked about. You know, actually, you're the first person I ever talked to about this, and I feel a little better. And that is the end of that monologue. And now here is a vagina fact, which I think there's going to be a few of these in here, I think. But yeah, vagina fact. At a witch trial in 1593, the investigating lawyer, a married man, apparently discovered a clitoris for the first time. He identified it as a devil's teat, sure proof of the witch's guilt. It was a little lump of flesh, in manner sticking out as if it had been a teat, to the length of half an inch, which the gaoler, perceiving at the first sight thereof, meant not to disclose, said it was adjoining to so secret a place, which was not decent to be seen, yet in the end not willing to conceal so strange a matter, he showed it to various bystanders. The bystanders had never seen anything like it. The witch was convicted. And that's from the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets. Yeah, all women have clitorises, or are born with clitorises. Let me say most women, because there are intersex people. But by that logic, we're all witches. Okay, now here is another conch shell. This conch shell is called, well, no, it's not called anything. It says on this conch shell, I interviewed many women about menstruation. There was a choral thing that began to occur, a kind of wild collective song. Women echoed each other. I let the voices bleed into one another. I got lost in the bleeding. This doesn't have a conch shell, but it has a header. I was 12. My mother slapped me. Second grade, 7 years old, my brother was talking about periods. I didn't like the way he was laughing. I went to my mother. What's a period? What's a period? I said. It's punctuation, she said. You put it at the end of a sentence. My father brought me a card. To my little girl who isn't so little anymore. I was terrified. My mother showed me the thick sanitary napkin. Yeah, my mother showed me the thick sanitary napkins. I was to bring the used ones to the can under the kitchen sink. I remember being one of the last. I was 13. We all wanted it to come. I was so afraid. I started putting the used pads in brown paper bags in the dark storage places under the roof. 8th grade, my mother said, "Oh, that's nice." In junior high, brown drip. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, in junior high, brown drips before it came. Coincided with a little hair under my arms, which grew unevenly. When one armpit had hair, the other didn't. I was 16, sort of scared. My mother gave me codeine. We had bunk beds. I went down and lay there. My mother was so uncomfortable. One night, I came home late and snuck into bed without turning on any lights. My mother had found the used pads and put them in between the sheets of my bed. I was 12. Yeah, I was 12 years old, still in my underpants. Hold on. Yeah, I was 12 years old, still in my underpants, hadn't gotten dressed. Looked down on the staircase. There it was. Looked down and I saw blood. 7th grade, my mother sort of noticed my underwear. She gave me plastic diapers. My mom was very warm. Let's get you a pad. My friend Marcia, they celebrated when she got hers. They had dinner for her. Wow. Celebrated. That's weird. Yeah, my friend Marcia, they celebrated when she got hers. They had dinner for her. We all wanted our period. We all wanted it now. 13 years old. It was before it was yeah. It was before Kotex, which is a tampon brand. For guys that are listening to this, including my own boyfriend. It was before Kotex. Had to watch your dress. I was black and poor. Blood on the yeah, blood on the back of my dress in church. Didn't show, but I was guilty. Oh, I just now I'm yeah, okay, then this is just a bunch of people. Yeah, I was like, why is it so weird? I thought it was only talked about one person. Man, I feel dumb. Okay, yeah. Uh, yeah, 13 years old. It was before Kotex. Had to watch your dress. I was black and poor. Blood on the back of my dress in church. Didn't show, but I was guilty. I was 10 and a half. No preparation. Brown gunk on my underpants. She showed me how to put in a tampon. Only got in halfway. I associated my period with inexplicable phenomena. My mother told me I had to use a rag. My mother said no to tampons. You couldn't put anything in your sugar dish. Wore wads of cotton. Told my mother. She gave me Elizabeth Taylor paper dolls. 15 years old. My mother said, Mazel tov. She slapped me in the face. Didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably a good thing, but why the slapping? My period, like cake mix before it's baked. Indians sat on moss for 5 days. Wish I were a Native American. I was 15 and I'd been hoping to get it. I was tall and I kept growing. When I saw white girls in the gym with tampons, I thought they were bad girls. Saw little red drops on the pink tiles. I said, yeah. My mom was glad for me. Used OB and liked putting my fingers up there. Used OB. What's OB? Hold on. Oh, obstetrician. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Oh, I think it's just vaginal care then. Okay. Yeah, I used to OB and like putting my fingers up there. 11 years old, wearing white pants. Blood started to come out. Thought it was dreadful. I'm not ready. I got back pains. I got horny. 12 years old. I was happy. My friend had an Ouija board. Asked me when we were going to get our periods. Looked down and I saw blood. Looked down and there it was. I'm a woman. Terrified. Never thought it would come. Changed my whole life. Changed my whole feeling about myself. I became very silent and mature. A good Vietnamese woman. Quiet worker. Virtuous. Never speaks. 9.5. I was sure I was bleeding to death. Rolled up my underwear and threw them in a corner. Didn't want to worry my parents. My mother made me hot water and wine, and I fell asleep. I was in my bedroom with my mother's. Yeah, I was in my bedroom in my mother's apartment. I had a comic book collection. My mother said, "You mustn't lift your box." Yeah, my mother said, "You mustn't lift your box of comic books." My girlfriends told me you hemorrhage every month. My mother was in and out of mental hospitals. She couldn't take me coming of age. Dear Miss Carling, please excuse my daughter from basketball. She has just matured. At camp, they told me not to take a bath with my period. They wiped me down with antiseptic. Scared people would smell it. Scared people would smell it. Scared they'd say I smelled like fish. Throwing up. Couldn't eat. I got hungry. Sometimes it's very red. I like the drops that drop into the toilet. Like paint. Sometimes it's brown and it disturbs me. Yeah, sometimes it is brown. It just disturbs you. I was 12. My mother slapped me and brought me a red cotton shirt. My father went out for a bottle of sangria. Okay. So that's the end of that. And then here's another conch shell which says, this is based on an interview I did with a woman who had taken the Vagina workshop. And this has no conch shell, but it has a header. The Vagina workshop. A slight English accent. But I don't think I'm going to do the accent. Or maybe I will. My vagina is a shell, a round pink tender shell, opening and closing and opening. My vagina is a flower, an eccentric tulip, the center acute and deep, the scent delicate, the petals gentle but sturdy. So that's all italicized, so I think that's the person that's talking. And the parts that are not italicized is, I think Eve Ensler that's talking. Or not. No. I don't know. It's confusing. No, I think this is all of the women. This is the woman that she's interviewing. But that's weird how it's italicized in some part, in like the first part, and then it's like regular the next, like the rest of it. But yeah. Let me say it again. My vagina is a shell, a round pink tender shell, opening and closing and opening. My vagina is a flower, an eccentric tulip, the center acute and deep, the scent delicate, the petals gentle but sturdy. I did not always know this. I learned this in the vagina workshop. I learned this. Excuse me. I learned this in the vagina workshop. I learned this from a woman who runs the vagina workshop. A woman who believes in vaginas, who really, who really sees vaginas, who helps women see their own vaginas by seeing other women's vaginas. In the first session, the women who run, in the first session, excuse me, sorry. In the first session, the woman who runs the vagina workshop asked us to draw a picture of our own unique, beautiful, fabulous vagina. That's what she called it. She wanted to know what our own unique, beautiful, fabulous vagina looked like to us. One woman who was pregnant drew a big red mouth screaming with coins spilling out. Another very skinny woman drew a big serving plate with a kind of Devonshire pattern on it. I drew a huge black dot with little squiggly lines around it. The black dot was equal to a black hole in space, and the squiggly lines were meant to be people or things or just your basic atoms that got lost there. I always thought of my vagina as an anatomical vacuum, randomly sucking up particles and objects from the surrounding environment. I always perceived my vagina as an independent entity, spinning like a star in its own galaxy, eventually burning up on its own gaseous energy or exploding and spinning into thousands of other smaller vaginas, all of them then spinning in their own galaxies. I did not think of my vagina in practical or biological terms. I did not, for example, see it as a part of my body, something between my legs, attached to me. In the workshop, we were asked to look at our vaginas with hand mirrors. Then, after careful examination, we were to verbally report to the group what we saw. I must tell you that up until this point, everything I knew about my vagina was based on hearsay or invention. I had never really seen the thing. It had never occurred to me to look at it. My vagina existed for me on some abstract plane. It seemed so reductive and awkward to look at it, getting down there the way we did in the workshop, on our shiny blue mats with our hand mirrors. It reminded me of how the early astronomers must have felt with their primitive telescopes. I found it quite unsettling at first. My vagina. Like the first time you see a fish cut open and you discover this other bloody complex world inside, right under the skin. It's so raw, so red, it's so fresh. And the thing that surprised me the most was all the layers. Layers inside layers, opening into more layers. My vagina amazed me. I couldn't speak when it came my turn in the workshop. I was speechless. I had awakened to what the woman who ran the workshop, called vaginal wonder. I just wanted to lie there on my mat, my legs spread, examining my vagina forever. It was better than the Grand Canyon, and ancient and full of grace. It had the innocence and freshness of a proper English garden. It was funny, very funny. It made me laugh. It could hide and seek, open and close. It was a mouth. It was the morning. Then, the woman who ran the workshop asked how many women in the workshop had orgasms. 2 women tentatively raised their hands. I didn't raise my hand. but I had orgasms. I didn't raise my hand because they were accidental orgasms. They happened to me. They happened in my dreams, and I would awake in splendor. They happened a lot in the water, mostly in Bath, once in Cape Cod. They happened on horses, on bicycles, on the treadmill at the gym. I did not raise my hands because although I had orgasms, I did not know how to make one happen. I had never tried to make one happen. I thought it was a mystical, magical thing. I didn't want to interfere. It felt wrong, getting involved, contrived, manipulative. It felt Hollywood, orgasms by formula. The surprise would be gone and the mystery. The surprise would be gone and the mystery. The problem, of course, was that the surprise had been gone for 2 years. I hadn't had a magical accidental orgasm in a long time, and I was frantic. That's why I was in the workshop. Then the moment had arrived that I both dreaded and secretly longed for. The woman who ran the workshop asked us to take out our hand mirrors again and to see if we could locate our clitoris. We were there, the group of us women, on our backs, on our mats, finding our spots, our locus, our reason, and I don't know why, but I started crying. Maybe it was sheer embarrassment. Maybe it was knowing that I had to give up the fantasy, the enormous life-consuming fantasy that someone or something was going to do this for me. The fantasy that someone was coming to lead my life, to choose direction, to give me orgasms. I was used to living off the record in a magical, superstitious way. This clitoris finding, this wild workshop on shiny blue mats was making the whole thing real. Too real. I could feel the panic coming. The simultaneous terror and realization that I had avoided finding my clitoris, had rationalized it as mainstream and consumerist because I was, in fact, terrified that I did not have a clitoris. Terrified that I was one of those constitutionally incapables, one of those frigid, dead, shut down, dry, apricot tasting, bitter. Oh my God. I lay there with my mirror, looking for my spot, reaching with my fingers and all. And all I could think about was the time that when I was 10 and I lost my gold ring with the emeralds in a lake. How I kept driving over and over to the bottom of the lake, running my hand over stones and fish and bottle caps and slimy stuff, but never my ring. The panic I felt. I knew I'd be punished. I shouldn't have worn it swimming. The woman who ran the workshop saw my insane scrambling, sweating, and heavy breathing. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, the woman who ran the workshop saw my insane scrambling, sweating, and heavy breathing. She came over. I told her, I've lost my clitoris. It's gone. I shouldn't have worn it swimming. The woman who ran the workshop laughed. She calmly stroked my forehead. She told me my clitoris was not something I could lose. It was me, the essence of me. It was both the doorbell to my house and the house itself. I didn't have to find it. I had to be it. Be it. Be my clitoris. Be my clitoris. I lay back and closed my eyes. I put the mirror down. I watched myself float above myself. I watched as I slowly began to approach myself and re-enter. I felt like an astronaut re-entering the atmosphere of the Earth. It was very quiet. This entry, quiet and gentle. I bounced and landed and bounced. I came into my own muscles and blood and cells, and then I just slid into my vagina. It was suddenly easy, and I fit. I was all warm and pulsing, and ready and young and alive. And then, without looking, with my eyes still closed, I put my finger on what had suddenly become me. There was a little quivering at first, which urged me to stay. Then the quivering became a quake, an eruption, and the layers dividing and subdividing. The quaking broke down into an ancient horizon of light and silence, which opened onto a plane of music and colors and innocence and longing, and I felt connection, calling connection as I lay there, thrashing about on my little blue mat. My vagina is a shell, a tulip, and a destiny. I am arriving as I am beginning to leave. My vagina, me. That is the end of that little monologue. I really like that one. Alright, now there's not another conch shell, but there is another vagina fact. And it is, of course, about the clitoris. Yeah, vagina fact. The clitoris is pure in purpose. It is the only organ in the body designed purely for pleasure. The clitoris is simply a bundle of nerves, 8,000 for nerve fibers to be precise. That's a higher concentration of nerve fibers than is found anywhere else in the body, including the fingertips, lips, and tongue. And it is twice the number in the penis. Who needs a handgun when you've got a semi-automatic? From Woman in Intimate Geography by Natalie Angier. Yeah, who needs a fucking handgun when you have a semi-automatic? This is clearly why women are the better sex. Clearly. Okay. This is another monologue. It doesn't have a conch shell, but it does have a header. The header being because he liked to look at it. This is how I came to love my vagina. It's embarrassing because it's not politically correct. I know it should have happened in a bath with salt grains from the Dead Sea. Enya playing, me loving my woman self. I know the story. Vaginas are beautiful. Our self-hatred is only the internalized repression and hatred of the patriarchal culture. It isn't real. Pussies unite. I know all of it. Like, if we'd grown up in a culture where we were taught that fat thighs were beautiful, we'd all be pounding down milkshakes and cookies, lying on our backs, spending our days thigh expanding. But we didn't grow up in that culture. I hated my thighs, and I hated my vagina even more. I thought it was incredibly ugly. I was one of those women who had looked at it, and from that moment on, wished I hadn't. It made me sick. I pitied anyone who had to go down there. In order to survive, I began to pretend there was something else between my legs. I imagined furniture, cozy futons with light cotton comforters, little velvet settees, leopard rugs, or pretty things, silk handkerchiefs, quilted pot holders, or place settings, or miniature landscapes, clear crystal lakes, or moisty iris bogs. I got so accustomed to this that I lost all memory of having a vagina. Whenever I had sex with a man, I pictured him inside a mink I pictured him inside a mink-lined muffler, or a red rose, or a china bowl. Then I met Bob. Bob was the most ordinary man I ever met. He was thin and tall and nondescript and wore khaki clothes. Bob did not like spicy foods or listen to Prodigy. He had no interest in sexy lingerie. In the summer he spent time in the summer he spent time in the shade. He did not share his inner feelings. He did not have any problems or issues and was not even an alcoholic. He wasn't very funny or articulate or mysterious. He wasn't mean or unavailable. He wasn't self-involved or charismatic. He didn't drive fast. I didn't particularly like Bob. I would have missed him altogether if he hadn't picked up my change that I dropped on the deli floor. When he handed me back my quarters and pennies, and his hand accidentally touched mine, something happened. I went to bed with him. That's when the miracle happened. That's when the miracle occurred. Turned out that Bob loved vaginas. He was a connoisseur. He loved the way they felt, the way they tasted, the way they smelled, but most important, he loved the way they looked. He had to look at them. The first time we had sex, he told me he had to see me. "I'm right here," I said. "No, you," he said. "I have to see you." "Turn on the light," I said. Thinking he was a weirdo, I was freaking out in the dark. He turned on the light. Then he said, "Okay, I'm ready. Ready to see you." "Right here," I waved. "I'm right here." Then he began to undress me. "What are you doing, Bob?" I said. "I need to see you." He replied, "No need." I said, "Just dive in." "I need to see what you look like," he said. "But you've seen a red leather couch before." "Yeah, but you've seen a red leather couch before," I said. Bob continued. He would not stop. I wanted to throw up and die. "This is awfully intimate," I said. "Can't you just dive in?" "No," he said. "It's who you are. I need to look." I held my breath. He looked and looked. He gasped and smiled and stared and groaned. He got breathy and his face changed. He didn't look ordinary anymore. He looked like a hungry, beautiful beast. "You're so beautiful," he said. "You're elegant and deep and innocent and wild." "You saw that there?" I said. It was like he read my palm. "I saw that," he said, "and much and more, much, much more." He stayed looking for almost an hour, as if he were studying a map, observing the moon, staring into my eyes, but it was my vagina. In the light, I watched him looking at me, and he was so genuinely excited, so peaceful and euphoric. I began to get wet and turned on. I began to see myself the way he saw me. I began to feel beautiful and delicious, like a great painting or a waterfall. Bob wasn't afraid. He wasn't grossed out. I began to swell. I began to feel proud. I began to love my vagina. And Bob lost himself there, and I was there with him, in my vagina, and we were gone. I like that one too. Okay, there's another conch shell. I think it's a, oh no, this is the author saying it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so this conch shell says, actually let me get water. This page is like, this book is so spread out, I'm already on page 59. I might finish this book in like 2 sessions. Oh no, in 3 sessions, because this is the second session. Okay, yeah, this conch shell says, in 1933, No, in 1993. Yeah, in 1993, I was walking down a street in Manhattan. When I passed a newsstand, it was suddenly struck by a deeply disturbing photograph at the front page of on the front page of Newsday. It was a picture of a group of 6 young women who had just been returned from a rape camp in Bosnia. Their faces revealed shock and despair, but more disturbing was a sense that something sweet, something pure, had been forever destroyed in each of their lives. I read on. Inside the newspaper was another photograph of the young woman. Recently, you reunited with their mothers and standing in a semicircle in a gymnasium. There was a very large group, and there was a very large group, and not one of them, mother or daughter, was able to look at the camera. I knew I had to go there. I had to meet these women. In 1994, thanks to the support of yeah, in 1994, thanks to the support of an angel, Lauren Lloyd, I spent 2 months in Croatia and Pakistan, interviewing Bosnian women refugees. I interviewed these women and hung out with them in camps, cafes, and refugee centers. I have been back to Bosnia twice since then. When I returned to New York after my first trip, I was out. I was in a stage. Yeah, when I returned to New York after my first trip, I was in a state of outrage. Outrage that 20,000 to 70,000 women were being raped in the middle of Europe in 1993 as a systematic tactic of war, and no one was doing anything to stop it. I couldn't understand it. I asked A friend asked me why I was surprised. She said that over 500,000 women were raped every year in this country, and in theory, we were not at war. This monologue is based on one woman's story. I want to thank her here for sharing it with me. Hold on! Man, I need to get a sign saying, do not disturb or do not knock on my door when I'm reading. Okay, what was I? Yeah. This monologue is based on one woman's story. I want to thank her here for sharing it with me. I am in awe of her spirit and strength, as I am in awe of every woman I have met who survived these terrible atrocities in the former Yugoslavia. This piece is for the women of Bosnia. Okay. This does not have a conch shell, but it has a header. My vagina was my village. My vagina was green, soft, water, soft pink. Yeah, my vagina was green. Uh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, my vagina was green, water, soft pink fields, cow mooing sun, resting sweet boyfriend, touching lightly with soft piece of blonde straw. There was something between my legs. I do not know what it is. I do not know where it is. I do not touch. Not now. Not anymore. Not since. My vagina was chatty. Can't wait. So much. So much saying. Words talking. Can't quit trying. Can't quit saying, oh yes, oh yes. Not since I dream there's a dead animal sewn in down there with thick black fishing line. and the bad dead animal cannot and the bad dead animal smell cannot be removed, and its throat is slit, and it bleeds through all my summer dresses. My vagina's singing all girl songs, all goat all goat bells ringing songs, all wild autumn field songs, vagina home songs. Not since the soldiers put a long, thick rifle inside me. So cold. Steel rod can't sling my heart. Don't know whether they're going to fire it or shove it through my spinning brain. Six of them. Monst- 6 of them. Monstrous doctors with black masks shoving bottles up me too. There were sticks and the end of a broom. My vagina swing river water, clean spilling water over sun-baked stones, over stone. Yeah, clean spilling water over sun-baked stones, over stone clit stones over and over. Not since I heard the skin tear and made lemon screeching sounds. Not since a piece of my vagina came off in my hand, a part of the lip. Now one side of the lip is completely gone. My vagina. A live, wet water village. My vagina, my hometown. Not since they took turns for 7 days, smelling like feces and smoked meat. They left their dirty sperm inside me. I became a river of poison and pus, and all the crops died, and the fish. My vagina, a live, wet water village. They invaded it, butchered it, and burned it down. I do not touch now, do not visit. I live someplace else now. I don't know where that is. And that is the end of that monologue. Fuck rape. Fuck. Rape is a way to control. It is never the woman's fault. Unless the woman is the rapist, because there are women rapists too. Yeah, yeah, that was like the more awful one. Ugh. And I think there's some more awful ones, but I don't remember where they're at. I know the monologues are like a combination of like lighthearted, funny, uh, heartwarming, awful like this one, eye-opening. Yeah, but yeah, that was the end of that conch show. Now we have a vagina fact. Yeah, the vagina fact is, in the 19th century, girls who learned to develop orgasmic capacity by masturbation were regarded as medical problems. Often they were treated or corrected by amputation or cautery of the clitoris, or miniature chastity belts, sewing the vaginal lips together to put the clitoris out of reach, and even castration by surgical removal of the ovaries. But there are no references in the medical literature to the surgical removal of testicles or amputation of the penis to stop masturbation in boys. Yeah, yeah, man. It's all about control and misogyny complete hatred of women. And it's disgusting. But yeah. Yeah, but there are no references in the medical literature to the surgical removal of testicles or amputation of the penis to stop masturbation in boys. In the United States, the last recorded clitorectomy for curing masturbation was performed in 1948 on a 5-year-old girl. This is from the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets. And here's another not so fun vagina fact. It's like on the same topic too. This vagina fact says, genital mutilation has been inflicted on 80 million to 100 million girls and young women in countries where it is practiced, mostly African. About 2 million youngsters a year can expect the knife or the razor or a glass shard to cut their clitoris or remove it altogether, and to have part or all of the labia sewn together with catgut or thorns. Often the operation is prettified as circumcision. The African specialist Nahid Tubia puts it plain. In a man, it would range from amputation of most of the penis to removal of all the penis, its roots of soft tissue, and part of the scrotal skin. Short-term results include tetanus, septicemia, hemorrhages, cuts to the urethra, bladder, cuts in the urethra, bladder, vaginal walls, and anal sphincter. Long-term, chronic uterine infection, massive scars that can hinder walking for life, fistula formation, hugely increased agony and danger during childbirth, and early deaths. That is from the New York Times, April 12th, 1996. Hopefully we will live in a world. I doubt it's going to be in a world where I'm still living, where that is completely eradicated and no more domestic violence or, genital mutilation is like happening. I hope we live in a world like that one day. But this world is fucking ugly. And what makes it beautiful is the people that love you and that love others. Alright. But here's another, hold on, sorry. Here's another monologue. Another monologue. The header is called My Angry Vagina. My vagina's angry. It is. It's pissed off. My vagina's furious and it needs to talk. It needs to talk about all this shit. It needs to talk to you. I mean, what's the deal? An army of people out there thinking up ways to torture my poor ass, gentle, loving vagina, spending their days constructing psycho products and nasty ideas to undermine my pussy. Vagina motherfuckers. All the shit they're constantly trying to shove up us, clean us up, stuff us up, make it go away. Well, my vagina's not going away. It's pissed off and it's staying right here. Like tampons. What the hell is that? A dry wad of fucking cotton stuff up there? Why can't they find a way to subtly lubricate the tampon? As soon as my vagina sees it, it goes into shock. It says, forget it. It closes up. You need to work with the vagina. Introduce it to things. Prepare the way. That's what foreplay is all about. You've got to convince my vagina. Seduce my vagina. Engage my vagina's trust. You can't do that with a dry wad of fucking cotton. Stop shoving things up me. Stop shoving and stop cleaning it up. My vagina doesn't need to be cleaned up. It smells good already. Not like rose petals. Don't try to decorate. Don't believe him when he tells you it smells like rose petals when it's supposed to smell like pussy. That's what they're doing. Trying to clean it up. Make it smell like bathroom spray or a garden. All those douche sprays, floral, berry, rain. I don't want my pussy to smell like rain. All cleaned up like washing a fish after you cook it. Wanting to taste the fish. That's what I ordered. That's why I ordered it. Then there's those exams. Who thought them up? There's got to be a better way to do those exams. Why the scary paper dress that scratches your tits or crunches when you lie down so you feel like a wad of paper someone threw away? Why the rubber gloves? Why the flashlight all up there like Nancy Drew working against gravity? Why the Nazi steel stirrups? And the mean cold duck lips they shove inside you? What's that? My vagina's angry about those visits. It gets defended weeks in advance. It shuts down, won't relax. Don't you hate that? Relax your vagina. Relax your vagina. Why? My vagina's not stupid. Relax so you can shove those cold duck lips inside it? I don't think so. Why can't they find some nice, delicious purple velvet and wrap it around me? Lay me down on some feathery cotton spread. Put some nice, friendly pink or blue gloves and rest my feet. Yeah, and some fur-covered stirrups. Warm up the duck lips. Work with my vagina. But no. More tortures, dry wad of fucking cotton, cold duck lips, and thong underwear. That's the worst. Thong underwear. Who thought that up? Moves all around all the time. Gets up in the back of your vagina. Real crusty butt. Vagina's supposed to be loose and wide, not held together. That's why girdles are so bad. We need to move and spread and talk and talk. Vaginas need comfort. Make something like that. Something to give them pleasure. No, of course they won't do that. Hate to see a woman having pleasure, particularly sexual pleasure. I mean, make a nice pair of soft cotton underwear with French tickler built in. Yeah, with a French tickler built in. Women would be coming all day long, coming in the supermarket, coming on the subway, coming, happy vaginas. They wouldn't be able to stand it, seeing all those energized, not taking shit, hot, happy vaginas. If my vagina could talk, it would talk about itself, like me. It would talk about other vaginas. It would do vagina impressions. It would wear Harry Winston diamonds, no clothing, just there, draped in diamonds. My vagina helped release a giant baby. It thought it would be doing more of that. It's not. Now it wants to travel. It doesn't want a lot of company. It wants to read and know things and get out more. It wants sex. It loves sex. It wants to go deeper. It's hungry for depth. It wants kindness. It wants change. It wants silence and freedom and gentle kisses and warm liquids and deep touch. It wants chocolate. It wants to scream. It wants to stop being angry. It wants to come. It wants to want. It wants. My vagina, well, it wants everything. And that is the end of that monologue. Here, the next thing, we have another little conch shell, which says, for the last 10 years, I have been actively involved with women who have no homes, women we call homeless people, so we can categorize and forget them. I have done all kinds of things with these women who have become my friends. I run recovery groups for women who have been raped or suffered incest, and groups for women addicted to drugs and alcohol. I go to the movies with these women. I have meals with them. I hang out. Over the past 10 years, I have interviewed hundreds of women. In all that time, I have met only 2 who were not subjected to incest as young girls or raped as young women. I have evolved a theory that for most of these women, home is a scary place, a place they have fled, and that the shelters where I meet them are the first places many of them ever find safety, protection, or comfort, and the community of other women. This monologue is one woman's story as she told it to me. I met her about 5 years ago in a shelter. I would like to tell you it's an unusual story, brutal, extreme, but it's not. In fact, it's not nearly as disturbing as many of the stories I've heard in the years since. Poor women suffer terrible sexual violence that goes unreported. Because of their social class, these women do not have access to therapy or methods of healing. Their repeated abuse ultimately eats away at their self-esteem, driving them to drugs, prostitution, AIDS, and in many cases, death. Unfortunately, this particular story has a different outcome. This woman met another woman in that shelter, and they fell in love. Through their love, they got out of the shelter system and have a beautiful life together today. I wrote this piece for them, for their amazing spirits, for the women we do not see, who hurt and who need us. And then the next page is, doesn't have a conch, but it has a header. The little coochie snorcher that could. Southern woman of color. And it says memory. December 1965. 5 years old. My mama tells me in a scary, loud, life-threatening voice to stop scratching my coochie snorcher. I become terrified that I've scratched it down there. I become scared. I become terrified that I've scratched it off down there. I do not touch myself again, even in the bath. I am afraid of the water getting in and filling me up so I explode. I put Band-Aids over my coochie snorcher to cover the hole, but they fall off of the water. I imagine a stopper, a bathtub plug up there to prevent things from entering me. I sleep with 3 pairs of happy-hearted patterned cotton underpants underneath my snap-up pajamas. I still want to touch myself, but I don't. Memory, 7 years old. Edgar Montaigne, who was 10, gets angry at me and punches me with all his might between my legs. It feels like he's breaking my entire self. It feels like he breaks my entire self. I limp home. I can't pee. My mama asks me what's wrong with my coochie snorcher, and when I tell her what Edgar did to me, she yells at me and says never to let anyone touch me down there again. I try to explain he didn't touch it. Yeah. Yeah, I try to explain he didn't touch it, Mama. He punched it. Memory. 9 years old. I play on the bed, bouncing and falling, and impale my coochie snorcher on the bedpost. I make a high-pitched screamy noise that comes straight from my coochie snorcher's mouth. I get taken to the hospital, and they sew it up down there from where it's been torn apart. Ouch. That sounds fucking gnarly. Like, actually, though. Ouch. Memory. 10 years old. I'm at my father's house, and he's having a party upstairs. Everyone's drinking. I'm playing alone in the basement, and I'm trying on my new white cotton bra and panties that my father's girlfriend gave me. Suddenly, my father's best friend, this big man, Alfred, comes up from behind and pulls my new underpants down and sticks his big, hard penis in my coochie snorcher. I scream. I kick. I try to fight him off, but he already gets it in. My father's there then, and he has a gun, and there's a loud, horrible noise, and then there is blood all over Alfred and me. Lots of blood. I'm sure my coochie snorcher is finally falling out. Alfred is paralyzed for life, and my mama doesn't let me see my father for 7 years. Jesus, that's... oh my God. Whew. Memory. Yeah. I forgot most of the details in this book, but correct response. Yes. Correct response from Dad. I would respond in the exact same way. Though, I wouldn't paralyze him, I would kill him. I would have aimed for the head, though. Always aim for the head. Yeah. Ooh, Jesus. Yeah. Memory. 13 years old. My coochie snorcher is a very bad place. A place of pain, nastiness, punching, invasion, and blood. Yep. Always aim for the head. That's a reference to the Walking Dead game, if anyone doesn't know about it. It's a good game. We just finished it. It was really good. But yeah. Memory. 13 years old. My coochie snorcher is a very bad place. A place of pain, nastiness, punching, invasion, and blood. It's a site for mishaps. It's a bad luck zone. I imagine a freeway between my legs, and girl, I am traveling, going far away from here. Memory. 16 years old. There's this gorgeous 24-year-old woman in our neighborhood, and I stare at her all the time. One day, she invites me into her car. She asks me if I like to kiss boys, and I tell her I do not like that. Then she says she wants to show me something, and she leans over and kisses me so softly on the lips with her lips, and then puts her tongue in my mouth. Wow. She asks me if I want to come over to her house, and then she kisses me again and tells me to relax, to feel it, to let our tongues feel it. She asks my mama if I can spend the night, and my mother is delighted that such a beautiful, successful woman has taken an interest in me. I'm scared, but really, I can't wait. Her apartment's fantastic. She's got it hooked up. It's the 70s. The beads, the fluffy pillows, the mood lights. I decide right there that I want to be a secretary like her when I grow up. She makes a vodka for herself, and then she asks me what I want to drink. I say the thing. I say the same. Yeah, I say the same as she's drinking, and she says she doesn't think my mama would like me drinking vodka. Uh, and she says she doesn't think my mama would like me drinking vodka. I say she's probably. I say she probably wouldn't like me kissing girls either, and the pretty lady makes me drink. Then she changes into this chocolate satin teddy. She's so beautiful. I always thought bull daggers were ugly. I say, "You look great." And she says, "So do you." I say, "But I only have this white cotton bra and underpants." Then she dresses me, slowly, into another satin teddy. It's lavender the first the first soft days of spring. The alcohol has gone to my head, and I'm loose and ready. I notice that there's a picture over her head of a naked black woman with a huge afro as she gently and slowly lays me out on the bed. And just our bodies rubbing makes me come. Then she does everything to me and my snoochy snort and her and she does everything to me and my coochie snorcher that I always thought was nasty before. And wow, I'm so hot and wild. I'm so hot, so wild, she says. Your vagina, untouched by man, smells so nice, so fresh. I wish I could keep it that way forever. I get crazy wild, and then the phone rings, and of course it's my mama. I'm sure she knows. She catches me at everything. I'm breathing so heavy, and I try to act normal when I get on the phone, and she asks me, "What's wrong with you? What have you been running?" No, she said. And she asks, "What's wrong with you? Have you been running?" I say, "No, Mama, exercising." Then she tells the beautiful secretary to make sure I'm not around boys, and the lady tells her, "Trust me, there's no boys around here." Afterward, the gorgeous lady teaches me everything about my coochie snorcher. She makes me play with myself in front of her, and she teaches me all the different ways to give myself pleasure. She's very thorough. She tells me to always know how to give myself pleasure, so I'll never need to rely on a man. In the morning, I am very worried that I've become a butch because I'm so in love with her. She laughs, but I never see her again. I realized later she was my surprising, unexpected, politically incorrect salvation. She transformed my sorry-ass coochie snorcher and raised it up into a kind of heaven. I liked that one too, even though she was an adult and she was a minor. I liked that one. Well, I like that last memory, not the rape memory, but that was good. I think that was wholesome. But I do not condone any pedosexual bullshit. That's pedophile. I don't. This is a anti-pedophile, pedosexual anti-map Discord server. I do not agree with any of that. It's strictly pedophile and it's disgusting, and they should die. Because that is disgusting, and it is wrong. And age is not a sexual orientation. It's not. And you can't think of yourself as age fluid. Like, oh, I'm 16 one minute and then I'm like 42 the next. No, you can't think like that. No, I'm sorry. But that's not right. It's not. I'll accept anything else. But that does not belong in the LGBTQ community. And the P, the official P, I think, for the LGBTQ plus community is pansexual. That's a different thing. Pedophiles are just trying to move their way into the LGBT community by using the MAPS, the minor attracted person, which, I mean, that's bullshit. You're a pedophile. Yeah. Bottom line is, this is a anti-pedophile, anti-pedosexual, anti-map Discord server. We're having none of that. Okay, but yeah, that was the end of that, that thing. Oh my god. Excuse me. Okay. Man. I'm not reading as much as, like, I would a regular book. But, like, man, I feel like I've been, like, reading a lot. Even though right now it's, like, I'm an hour and 41 minutes in, which is usually, like, good. I usually do, like, 2.5 hours if I can. 3 is, like, really pushing it. Let's see how much more I want to read. Yeah, there's so much more. Okay. I think I'll just read until 10 today. Just because there's, like, so much packed into, like, a lot of these that I don't want to keep on bum rushing it, even though I already did for, like, the last hour and 42 minutes. But man, I like this book. I love this book a lot. Okay, but the next... Oh, I should probably... There we go. The next Oh, nice. That's in the cool air. Nice. Yeah, the next... there was another conch shell. And this conch shell says, during the course of my run in New York, I received this letter. As the honorary chair of the Volvo Club, we would be more than pleased to make you a member. However, when Harriet Lerner developed this club over 20 years ago, membership was predicated on the understanding and correct usage of the word vulva, and being able to communicate that to as many people as possible, especially women. Warm regards, Jane Hirschman. And then that's the end of that little conch shell. And then we will go on to, I think this is the next monologue, which is called, the header is called The Vulva Club. Okay, the Vulva Club. I have always been obsessed with naming things. If I could name them, I could know them. If I could name them, I could tame them. They could be my friends. For example, I had a large collection of frogs when I was a little girl. Stuffed frogs, china frogs, plastic frogs, neon frogs, happy battered operated frogs. Each one had a name. I took time to know them for a while before I named them. I sat them on my bed and would watch them in daylight. wear them in my coat pocket, hold them in my sweaty little hands. I came to know them by their texture, their smell, their shape, their size, their sense of humor. Then they would get named, usually in a splendid naming ceremony, surrounding them with their frog friends. I would dress them in ceremonial coats, put sparkles on them or gold stars, stand them in front of the frog chapel and name them. First, I would whisper the coveted name into their ear, whispering, "You are my froggy doodle mashy pie. Yeah, you are my froggy doodle mashy pie." I would make sure the frog accepted the name. Then I would say it out loud for the other excited frogs, some of whom were waiting for their own names. Froggy doodle mashy pie. Then they would be singing, usually the name repeated over and over, joined by the other frogs. Make up a song. Froggy doodle mashy pie. Froggy doodle mashy pie. This would happen with dancing. I would line the frogs up and dance in and out of them, hopping like a frog and making general frog noises, always holding the newly christened frog in my hand or arms, depending on the size. It was an exhausting ceremony, but crucial. It would have been fine if it had been limited to frogs, but soon I needed to name everything. I named rugs, the doors, the chairs, the stairs. Ben, for example, was my flashlight, named after my kindergarten teacher, who was always in my business. I eventually named all the parts of my body. My hands, Gladys. They seemed functional and basic, like Gladys. I named my shoulders, Shorty, strong and a little belligerent. My breasts were Betty. They weren't Veronica, but they weren't ugly either. Naming my down there was not so easy. It was the same as naming my hands. No, it was complicated. Yeah, no, it wasn't the same as naming my hands. No, it was complicated. Down there was alive. Not so easy to pinpoint. It remained unnamed, and as unnamed, it was untamed and unknown. It remained unnamed, and as unnamed, it was untamed, unknown. We had a babysitter around then, Sarah Stanley. She talked in this high-pitched voice that made me pee. When I was taking a bath one night, she told me to be sure to wash my itsy bitsy. I can't say that I liked this name. It took even a while to figure out what it was, but there was something in her voice. The name stuck. Yes, there it is. My itsy bitsy. Unfortunately, this name followed me into adulthood. On our first night in bed, I informed the man I would later marry that Itsy Bitsy was a bit shy but eager, and if he would be patient, she would surely reveal her mysteries. He was a bit freaked out, I think, but as is his nature, he went along with it, and later would actually call her by name. Is Itsy Bitsy there? Is she ready? I myself was never happy with her name, and so what happened later is not really surprising. One night, my husband and I were in the act. He called out to her, "Come here, my little itsy bitsy," and she did not respond. It was as if she suddenly wasn't there. "Itsy bitsy, it's me, your biggest fan." No word, no motion. So I called to her. "Come on, Itsy Bitsy, come on out. Don't do this to me." Not a word, not a sound. Itsy was dead, and mute, and gone. "Itsy Bitsy!" For days she did not come, then weeks, then months. I became despondent. I reluctantly told my friend Teresa. She was spending all her time in this new women's group. I said, Itsy Bitsy will not speak to me, Teresa. She won't return my calls. Who is Itsy Bitsy? My Itsy Bitsy, I said. My Itsy. What are you talking about? Yeah, what are you talking about? She said in a voice that suddenly sounded much deeper than mine. You mean your vulva, girl? Vulva? I said to Teresa. What exactly is that? It's the package, she said. It's the entire deal. Vulva. Vulva. I could feel something unlock. Itsy Bitsy was wrong. I knew this all along. I could not see Itsy Bitsy. I never knew who or what she was, and she did not sound like an open and she did not sound like an opening or a lip. That night, we named her, my husband, Randy, and I, just like the frogs, dressed her in sparkles and sexy clothes, put her in front of the body chapel, lit candles. At first, we whispered it, vulva, vulva, softly, to hear if she'd hear. Vulva, vulva, are you there? There was sweetness and something deftly stirred. Vulva, vulva, are you real? And we sang the vulva song, which didn't involve croaking but kissing, and we danced the vulva dance, which didn't involve hopping but leaping, and all the other body parts were lined up. Betty and Gladys and Shorty, and they were definitely listening. And that is the end of that chapter, of that monologue. And now we go to a vagina fact. Okay. The vagina facts is, in some places, Africans seem to have been quietly putting an end to the tradition of genital cutting. In Guinea, for example, Aja Tonkara Diallo Fatimata. Yeah, Aja Tonkara Diallo Fatimata, the chief cutter in the capital, Conakry. Yeah, Conakry used to be reviled by Western human rights. Yeah, used to be reviled by human rights groups. Then a few years ago, she confessed that she had never actually cut anybody. I just cinched their clitorises to make them scream, she said, and tightly bandaged them so that they walked as though they were in pain. That is from the Center of Reproductive Law and Policy. So there are some heroes in the world. Oh, hold on. I need to get the... There we go. I need to plug in my charger, my laptop. Okay. Okay, I think I'll finish off. Yeah, I think I'll finish off with this one. Because then, yeah, this is a good way to start to end off. Alright, so the next conch shell is a question. What does a vagina smell like? And there are a lot of answers. Earth, wet garbage, God, water, a brand new morning, depth, sweet ginger, sweat, depends, musk, me, no smell I've been told, pineapple, chalice essence, Paloma Picasso, earthy meat and musk, cinnamon and cloves, roses, spicy, musky, jasmine forest, deep, deep forest, damp moss, yummy candy, the South Pacific, somewhere between fish and lilacs. I like that. Yeah, somewhere between fish and lilacs. Peaches, the woods, ripe fruit, strawberry kiwi tea, fish, heaven, vinegar and water, light, sweet liquor. No, yeah, light, sweet liquor. Cheese, ocean, sexy, a sponge, the beginning. And I think that's where I'll leave off. Just because the next conch shell is the author talking about a word and then people reclaiming that word, and then, yeah. Hold on, sorry, I was just like... Yeah. So... Okay. Thank you so much for listening. I really enjoyed that experience, and though I didn't put a lot of commentary in it, I think it was important just to read it and just, ingest and absorb those, testimonies. I think that's really important too, than just like putting out your opinion. Though I did in some points, I did. But it is also important to just listen and understand and, So yeah, I hope women as well as men see this video and they enjoy it. Oh god, my neck. Okay, well, I will see you guys in the next video, which will probably be the end to that. Yeah, I think next time I'll be able to finish it. Alright, but thank you so much. I will see you next time.